Hello, kia ora, g'day. I'm Philip Duncan from Weather Watch TV on YouTube with your Australia-only forecast right through till Sunday. And let's kick off with the satellite and lightning map. So plenty of energy out here to the east. We've got a few thunderstorms coming out of Bass Strait, a couple of thunderstorms very close to Hobart as well in southern parts of Tasmania. But most of the energy is out in the Tasman Sea. A new system here tracking off towards New Zealand. Maybe a couple of showers around Lord Howe Island, otherwise not a lot really going on. We are seeing a few showers this morning. Most of them have cleared by the time you watch this in southern parts of New South Wales and also around the A.C.T. But most of the showers are carrying on around Tasmania, a couple of coastal showers around Victoria, and then the rest of the showery activity over in Western Australia, another burst of thunderstorms as the next cold front comes in, and we've got showers pushing right through inland past Kalgoorlie, bringing a little bit of rain relief for you. But elsewhere, pretty quiet. This is the time of year where the top half of the nation doesn't get talked about very much, and the bottom half of the nation does almost every update. And then we fast forward, 4 months from now, and it will do probably a reversal, and we'll be mostly talking about the top part of the country. So that's just the way it is. Dry season at the moment in the north, and obviously winter weather in the south. So here is the situation with the air pressure. We've got ourselves a small low trapped between all this high pressure, and so that low, as you often call in Australia a cut-off low, is going to break away, come into New South Wales and basically fall apart, being smothered by all of that high pressure. I always say it's a little bit like when you've got high pressure all around you and you've got a low pressure system like that in the middle. It's kind of like trying to dig a hole in the white sand on the beach, and that dry sand just comes in and fills the hole back up again. So these lows don't have much of a chance without the sea underneath it to fuel it, and so usually they do fall apart. But that's the reason why you're seeing a few thunderstorms and obviously a colder change behind it, warmer airflow in front of it. Elsewhere, not a lot to talk about, but you can see in the darker shading the low pressure still clipping Tasmania. Tasmania still underneath low pressure for a number of days this week, and just brushing parts of Tasmania and New South Wales. High pressure elsewhere, and not a lot of low pressure in the tropics, as you would expect, although we do see low pressure out to the west. And interestingly, just as a side note, next week, watching low pressure that might be forming out around Fiji, that could form into a tropical low, which it's the wrong time of the year for it, completely the wrong time of the year. So we'll be monitoring that next week. Doesn't really pose a threat to Australia at this stage, but you never know. Places like Norfolk Island might be having to keep an eye on that one. So Tuesday of next week, there is that low that's been cut off from the fuel, so it's going to fall apart. That's why you're not seeing a whole lot of rain wrapped around it. But you do see on the southern side of it, there is some rain coming through, and some parts of South Australia here, areas that perhaps have missed out on some of the other rain that was a little further south, down towards Port Lincoln, down towards Kangaroo Island, this time further to the north. Some of these areas getting 30 millimetres, maybe a little more if you get a thunderstorm, as that moves on through. So there's some good news for you. Now it fades out as it runs into New South Wales. Still got the chance of a heavy shower or downpour or thunderstorm in that line, but overall, not a huge amount of rain. And the blue line, which unfortunately is the same colour as the rainfall, so it makes it even harder to see. Probably should have left it as the dark blue line and not highlighted it for you. But you get the idea. That is coming in around the southeast corner still, so temperatures are down there. Elsewhere, not much to talk about. Light winds for the most part. Bit of a southeasterly breeze through Western Australia, though perhaps not quite as hot as it's been. But the tropical heat dropping down a little further now into parts of the Kimberley, Northern Territory, and the northern part of Queensland. So you'll feel a little bit of heat there. On Wednesday, as the high from the Indian Ocean moves in a tiny bit, balloons out a little bit, and as it balloons out, the red line here goes further back northwards again. So some of the heat eases sort of in this line here. Further down, you can see the leftovers of that low producing a few showers into New South Wales. The low itself disappearing completely by Wednesday, and really not a lot to talk about other than Tasmania still being under that colder, wintry westerly that's blowing through. Most of the rain in the southwest corner, fairly dry for eastern areas, and the wind's tilting a little bit more northwest, but it's still a fairly cold day for you, and we're still seeing a few showers around the southwest corner of Western Australia going around that next big high pressure system. So on Thursday, high pressure basically expands out further into South Australia. On the edges of it though, as usual, as high pressure moves in, you have a southerly. And that's what we're seeing here, a southerly flow. Southwest, southerly, southeasterly, that kind of setup as it pushes into South Australia and eventually coming into Victoria. The blue line goes further northwards, which means there might be a few snow flurries higher up. Won't be very much. And in Tasmania, a proper kind of wintry day again for you on Thursday as heavy rain on the west coast spills over into northern areas, a light dusting of snow on the mountains, and that westerly wind blows on through. Apart from a few isolated showers here between between New South Wales and Queensland, right on the border around the northern rivers and southeast Queensland, apart from the leftovers of that low producing a couple of showers, there really isn't much to talk about there. Maybe a little more on Friday. High pressure smack bang over the top of Canberra and New South Wales. That is ballooning out to the Tasman, and that shape of it here, kind of like a cigar, is pushing in a southerly or a southeasterly. That's why we're seeing some wet weather, Port Macquarie northwards, going right up north of the Sunshine Coast. Showers in there, maybe a couple of heavy thundery ones as well. That typical, southerly transition, which can spark a few downpours. Around the south, it's still windy in Tasmania, not quite as cold for you on Friday. The blue line drops further south of you, and here comes the next very weak cold front around Albany in the southwest corner of Western Australia. It's not going to do a huge amount on Friday, low rainfall there for you. Remember, that's 24 hours of rainfall. And by Saturday, again, not a huge amount going on, but the Southern Ocean, very stormy, dominating the weather. High pressure out here over the Indian Ocean, stretching in a little bit into Western Australia. The next high pressure zone, not overly strong, departing New South Wales. So that area of high pressure with a small area of low pressure up towards the Coral Sea, helping to fuel that southeasterly flow coming into Queensland. So you're seeing a few showers again, actually from about the central part of New South Wales coastal area, right up into the central part of Queensland. But look, this is not much in the way of wet weather over a whole day, 0.2 to 1 millimetres for most of you. So just a few showers, but you might get a heavy one or two in there. Similar story down here around Victoria, but most of the wet weather once again on the west coast of Tassie, and watch out for those winds. Strong westerlies, gale force at times, might even get up to damaging. Could be some power outages on Saturday as that blast moves on through. And by Sunday, it stays the same. Tasmania's got a severe weather risk. Severe northwest gales are in the forecast. Heavy rain on the west coast. Low pressure just south of South Australia is fueling that. And so it could be severe weather risks around there, Bass Strait as well. Victoria, South Australia, windy nor'westers kicking in for you by the time we get to Sunday. And you jump over to Albany and you've got a windy sou'wester blowing through for you. So it's all going around that large low that's about as wide as Australia is, which is why on one side you've got sou'westers and the other side northwesters. Further up around Queensland, it's a bit of a messy easterly flow kind of snaking through there. The heat's been pushed back north further towards Papua New Guinea, Indonesia. And really, it's fairly settled in many other places. It's a quite quiet week this week for the top half of Australia. The southern half has a little bit of activity, but certainly not as dramatic as we saw last week. But again, severe weather risks are possible in the southeast. And when you look out to the Indian Ocean, bit of a storm here or low in the middle, high pressure moving into Western Australia, another big high behind all of that. So we are seeing a bit of a messy weather pattern coming in to the end of this week, but look at, like I say, a lot of Australia fairly settled. So we'll be watching what happens the following week coming out of the Indian Ocean, coming out of the Southern Ocean, and of course what is happening in Fiji, Vanuatu. We're seeing some thundery wet weather that doesn't normally form at this time of the year, so we'll be monitoring that as well. That is all from me. We'll be back tomorrow, Tuesday. We're doing some extra updates this week. We're just seeing how it goes. We're not sure if this is going to work, but hey, why not? The demand is there, so we want to give you more content. So we'll have another video tomorrow, Tuesday, as we take a look at perhaps some of the more severe weather risks around Australia over the next week. We'll catch you then.